Welcome to the channel, English Epics. My name is John Turlock. I'm an oilman. In fact, I'm an oilman. I work at refineries, pipelines, tankers, oil and gas wells, and what I love the most, on offshore platforms. I'm the best at what I do. I'm in demand, and I'm proud of my work. I have a master's degree in petroleum engineering. Thanks to my knowledge and experience, I now have more money than I could spend in a lifetime. I'm not bragging, just stating a fact. I can fix anything, and I can build anything. At least, that's what I thought. About 16 years ago, I was wrapping up a series of safety inspections on several offshore oil rigs near Mobile Bay. One evening, I was relaxing with a group of guys at an oyster bar not far from Bayou Labatry, just south of Mobile. It was a loud group in a loud bar. We were knocking back bottles of beer almost as fast as the oysters. I caught myself staring across the room at a woman who was shucking oysters. She was opening the shells like a machine. Just watching her work was mesmerizing. When she bent down, grabbed a 30-kilogram sack of oysters with one hand, and dumped it onto the cleaning table, I was stunned. She definitely belonged to an ethnic group. Her long black hair was tied at the back of her head with a red checkered bandana. Her eyes were dark and deeply set beneath thick eyebrows she had clearly never plucked. She had a large, slightly hooked nose, something rarely seen on women. Her mouth was wide, with thin lips that matched the rest of her face perfectly. I had seen and spoken with many women from all over the world, but this was the first woman I ever wanted to call mine. Her hands were rough and calloused, a testament to years of hard work. She wasn't a pretty young girl. She was a tough woman, the kind who belonged with a tough man. Hey John, what the hell are you staring at? Nothing. I was just watching that girl shuck oysters. I can't take my eyes off her. Hey guys, John's got his eye on Marie. That was followed by a chorus of shouts and whistles. Marie looked over at the noise from the other side of the room. I was caught off guard and felt a little embarrassed. From the other side of the bar came a shout from another one of my former coworkers. You must have a death wish, John. I quickly tried to save face by ordering another round of drinks for the crew. We spent another hour sipping beer and slurping oysters, but I caught myself stealing glances at Marie whenever I got the chance. Bill Connor had been watching me watch her, and finally, he leaned in and said, John, this is a bad idea. If you want to date her, you'll need her brother's permission. That's never happened before. See that guy at the bar in the cap? Yeah, so, what? Last year, he decided to ask for permission to date Marie. He drove to Slittle to meet her brothers. There are 3 of them, Clyde, Claude, and Clarence. They beat him half to death, brought him back here, and dumped him on the porch. He couldn't work for a week. Since then, he hasn't spoken to Marie or even looked at her. What the hell is so special about her? You tell me. You've been staring at her all evening. Bill, she's just captivating. If I don't at least spend some time with her, I know I'll regret it for the rest of my life. Well, it's your funeral. A little while later, I stood up and slowly walked over to the guy in the cap. Can I buy you a drink? What? Are you gay or something? No, not at all. I just wanted to ask you about your experience with Marie's brothers. It was a bad one. I wanted to ask Marie out for a walk, but she explained that I needed her brother's permission first. I happened to be passing through that area for work, so I decided to stop by and meet them. They lived down by the bayou, south of Slittle. All 3 were lean and weary, not an ounce of fat on them. They were having a good time, laughing at me and making remarks I couldn't understand. The oldest one, I think his name was Clarence, told me I had to wrestle each of them if I wanted to ask Marie out on a date, and if I wanted to marry her, I'd have to defeat all 3 of them at once. To them, it was a game. Sounds a bit crazy to me. It was. They were out of their minds. I handled the first one pretty quickly. It hurt, but I managed to hang on with the second. Then there was Clarence, and he beat the crap out of me. He was a kickboxer, and I never expected a boot to the mouth. By the time I came to, he was already on top of me with his full weight. That bastard broke my jaw with a kick, and a couple of ribs for good measure. It hurts just thinking about it. Got any advice? Yeah. Don't go. I like a challenge. Well, if you insist, I'd suggest you take out Clarence first, and watch his legs. Whatever you do, don't fight fair. Thanks, I said as I placed a 20 on the bar to cover his tab for the rest of the evening. Marie had stopped shucking and walked over to the counter just as I approached. There was a faint smile on her face. I simply stood there, looking at her, up close, she looked even more mysterious. And I was certain I was making the right decision. Her rubber apron was wet with oyster juice and bits of shell. Wiping her hands on a towel, she silently looked at me. Sweat glistened on her face and arms. You need to get married. Where can I find your brothers? 4 miles south of Slittle, on Highway 11. Look to the right for the sign to Baudreau's Landing. They're at the end of the road. Thanks. We're getting married tomorrow at noon. Be ready. I'll pick you up here. How will I know you actually went there? You tell me. Bring me my brother Clarence's leather hat. As I turned to leave, she added, if you can't handle them, then you won't be able to handle me either. I tossed a couple of 20s on the table and wished the guys good night. On the way to the door, they threw a few parting words my way. Before I left, I turned and looked at her one more time. She shouted across the whole bar, I'll come visit you in the hospital. Damn, I loved that woman. It took me 2 hours to find the place. The brothers came down off the porch to greet me. I recognized Clarence by his worn leather hat. He looked like the crocodile Dundee wished he could be. When I approached them, he asked what I wanted. I told him I wanted his hat. While he was looking at his brothers and laughing, my boot landed square in his groin. I grabbed his hat as he was going down and put it on my own head. Clyde and Claude rushed me, but they both hit the ground after a couple of punches. 3 hours later, Marie and I were married. She wore a white cotton dress, and I wore the leather hat. I had my very own Cajun queen. The sex was amazing, and it stayed that way throughout our marriage. It seemed we were both happy with each other. The more time I spent with her, the more I loved her. Marie and I built a house near Reading. It was big and expensive. The kitchen was her pride and joy. The floors were tiled, and all the appliances were stainless steel. In the center of the kitchen stood a heavy wooden harvest table. Life was good, with a few exceptions. I was away at work too often, and we didn't have children yet. Eventually, Timothy was born. Later came Mark and Robert. We had 3 wonderful boys, and Marie was happy. Marie worked for a while after we got married, not because we needed the money, but because she wanted something to do while I roamed the world. Sometimes I was gone for months at a time, doing various jobs related to my field. There was always plenty of work for me, and it was always far away. She continued working after Timothy was born, but she quit when Mark came along. She was excellent at raising the boys. Unfortunately, I wasn't a very good father. Marie never complained. The boys were 6, 8, and 10 years old. For some reason, I decided that we should all get full medical checkups, just to make sure our medical histories were accurate. Marie didn't seem thrilled about the idea, but she appeared to reluctantly agree with it. I didn't understand why, but to keep things simple, I suggested that she go for her checkup first, and the boys and I would go the next day. 2 days later, the doctor called and asked me to come in to review the results. Marie insisted that I go alone and said she'd be fine with any decisions I might need to make. John, it looks like all the news is good, said Donald Curry, who had been our family doctor since we moved to Reading. He had also delivered all 3 of the boys. Good to hear. I won't go into Marie's test results unless you feel it's necessary. Let me just say that she's in excellent health, with no urgent or pending issues to worry about. That's fine. Document. I'm not here to pry into her private matters. Both her file and yours are quite complete. The only thing I'd really like to have is more information about the boys' biological father's medical histories. That would give us a better baseline in case anything comes up in the future. For a few moments, I sat in silence. I was trying to process what he had just told me and didn't know how to respond. Could you please repeat that? I'm sorry, John, if I wasn't clear enough. I just feel that if we could get some background information on the fathers, it would give us a database to work from in case anything happens in the future. I just need your permission to request the records. I'm a little confused, doctor. Are you saying I'm not the father of my sons? I noticed a surprised expression flash across his face, and he seemed to shift uncomfortably in his chair. He fumbled through some of his files before slowly looking back up at me. You didn't know that, John? I didn't answer him. I just sank into the chair and stared across the room at one of those ridiculous medical posters that hang in every doctor's office. It was a powerful moment. I didn't know whether I wanted to cry or get angry. The overwhelming emotion, if you could call it that, was disappointment. Doc, let me get back to you on that. I need to clear something up first. As I stood up, I realized he looked uneasy. It seemed that everyone but me knew I wasn't the boy's father. I was in unfamiliar territory. I had no idea what to do. That didn't happen to me often. As I was leaving, I turned back one last time. Doc, you said fathers. Was there more than one? John, each of your sons has a different biological father. I sighed, nodded, and headed home. She knew. And when I got home, she was sitting at the kitchen table. I figured Dr. Curry must have called and woken her after I left. I don't blame him. It was probably the right thing to do. I grabbed a chair and dropped into it across from her. Go on. I'm listening. I was worried, she began. 3 years had passed, and I still wasn't pregnant. I knew how badly you wanted children, so I went to the doctor and got checked, several times. Every time, they told me I was fine. I couldn't bring myself to ask you to get tested, so I took a sample without telling you. John, you're sterile. Not low count, not reduced fertility. Sterile. It was a shocking revelation, but somehow it made sense. At least now I had a reason. There were alternatives, John. We could have adopted, or considered, artificial insemination. But both of those options would have forced me to give you bad news. I was afraid it would destroy you, crush your spirit, or maybe even make you leave me. I couldn't take that risk. I guess that's when I made my mistake. I stood up and grabbed another beer. What exactly was the mistake? Timothy's father was the mistake. Let me move on to the last one. This part's a bit more complicated. Fine, start with Robert. I need a beer. I waited a few minutes while she made herself comfortable. You were in Samoa. I didn't even know there was oil in Samoa. Anyway, the washing machine started acting up, so I called a repairman. Bob Monsanto had a private business in Boyertown. He looked and acted just like you. He even spoke like you. Tall, strong, confident. After he fixed the washer, I invited him in for coffee and we started chatting. 2 hours later, he had me bent over the washing machine. We didn't even take our clothes off. 3 days later, you came home. 3 weeks. After that, I found out I was pregnant. I suppose I'll have to pay Mr. Monsanto a visit. Don't bother. Robert died in a car crash on the Schuylkill Expressway 4 years ago. You named the child Robert, in his honor. How appropriate. It wasn't meant to mock you. I just felt like everything became simpler in my head. It wasn't easy for me to do. It's not in my nature to flirt with or seduce men. I wasn't very good at it, but I did what I had to do. You were so happy with Timothy, and you mentioned more than once that he should have a brother. That was my chance, and I took it. Do you want to tell me about Mark's father? I met Mark Langford at the DMV. You were in the Netherlands on some Union Oil business. Mark and I started chatting while waiting in line. He was renewing his driver's license before heading to Iraq. We ended up having lunch at the peanut bar, and eventually, I did it with him in the men's restroom. You would have liked him. He was tall, very muscular, and funny. I told him what I wanted, and he agreed. Neither of us tried to seduce the other. It was almost like a transaction. I really did buy him lunch. So, Mark was also named after his father. She didn't react to the obvious jab. Mark didn't make it back from Iraq. They held a memorial service for him in Indian Town Gap. I almost went, but changed my mind at the last minute. We both sat in silence for what felt like several minutes, but was probably only a few seconds. All right. Now tell me about Timothy's father, and why you called him a mistake. When I first decided I was going to do it, I didn't have a plan. I actually set out looking for someone who looked like you. I had no idea what I was doing or how I was going to pull it off. Of course, it all had to be timed around your work schedule. I found Timothy's father at the farmer's market in Leesport. He had a booth where he sold model trains and accessories. I wasn't interested in trains, but he looked and acted so much like you that I was captivated. Like I said, I had no idea what I was doing. Long story short, I started seeing him. I didn't wear my wedding rings. The more time I spent with him, the more I wanted to spend time with him. Marie, I don't think I like where this is going. I know I didn't think you'd take it well. That's why I saved this for last. Go on. We need to finish this before the kids get home from school. John, you are strong, smart, successful, and important. You were, and still are, a man who stands above most others. Timothy's father was the complete opposite. He was sensitive and empathetic. He was easy to talk to, and he always listened. Are you saying you preferred him to me? No one, John. Never. You two are different. You're both perfect in your own way. The big difference is, you're my husband, the man I married. The fact that I had to break my vows just to give you the children you wanted, it tears me apart. I hoped it would make you happy and proud. I'm sorry it all fell apart. But you had feelings for him. Yes. So what happened? I asked. You were in Antarctica. It was a long trip, but you were supposed to be back soon. I had been seeing Timothy for a few weeks. He wasn't some smooth seducer, and I wasn't good at that either. Eventually, I managed to get him into bed, in his apartment, and we had sex. It was awkward, to say the least. I think it might have been his first time, but I'm not sure. I was hoping to get pregnant, so I figured I needed to try at least a couple of times. The decision, John, wasn't hard, because I liked being around him. I know that's not what you want to hear, but I'm trying to be honest with you. So what went wrong? Timothy proposed to me. He bought a ring that looked far too expensive, got down on one knee, and made a proper proposal, just like in the movies. He was devastated when I said no, and of course, he wanted to know why. When I told him I was already married, I thought he was going to cry. That was the last time I saw him. You came home a week later, and I found out I was pregnant. Why did you say that encounter was a mistake? Because I got emotionally involved. I got too close to the father of the child and let things spiral out of control. I made sure the next two were quick and dirty. Thankfully, both of them only needed one attempt. Do you want me to talk to Timothy? Oh God, no. I crushed that poor man. He doesn't deserve any revenge from you. If you need to take it out on someone, take it out on me. I cheated on you. I committed adultery. I broke our vows. Do what you have to do with me, but leave Timothy out of it. I was sitting there holding an empty bottle when Marie got up and went to the bedroom. I drank to more and spent the night in my chair. I'm an oil man. I can fix anything. It wasn't hard to find out where Timothy McClure had moved. I didn't say anything to Marie, but on Saturday morning, the boys and I headed to Lancaster, to the Steampunk Model Train Center. Timothy had successfully grown his model train business and rebranded it with a steampunk flair. It was a small operation, but impressive. The boys were thrilled. I spent the first 10 minutes with them, then walked up to the counter, where I assumed Timothy was sitting. Hi. This is a great place you've got here. Are you the owner? Timothy McClure. And you are? He said, extending his hand. John Turlick. I wasn't sure whether he and Marie had ever really talked about it, so I kept the introduction simple. Just passing through. Nope. We came here specifically. You don't mind if we look around a bit, do you? Not at all. That's exactly why I put so much effort into setting this place up. Still, I'd like to move into a larger space. We ended up having a cup of coffee and chatted for half an hour about nothing in particular. Are you married, Timothy? Do you have any kids? Unfortunately, no. There was a time when I came close, but it didn't work out. No other options. It's never going to happen. I've thought about it, but Marie was the only woman I ever truly had feelings for. But that's over. I need to move on. So I take it you like kids? Absolutely. I'd give anything to have a bunch of kids like yours. You're a lucky man, John. I leaned back in my chair and couldn't help but smile. I'm an oil man. I can fix anything. Timothy, I'm about to offer you the deal of a lifetime. It's been 18 months since I left reading. For the past 3 months, I've been freezing my ass off here in Prudhoe Bay. The best part of the day is the end of the shift in the rec room. Who would have thought that a cold beer in northern Alaska could taste so damn good? My crew was with me, and we were celebrating the first extraction of crude oil from a new well. 3 of the guys were from the old Bela battery gang. We'd been there for about an hour when I noticed a very tall Amazonian blonde sitting at the far end of the room. She was with an equally large blonde man, her companion. It's rare to see women working on the North Slope, especially women like her. I couldn't take my eyes off her. Even from across the room, I could tell she had crystal blue eyes. I watched as she lifted her hand and let her hair down. Golden curls fell as she shook her head from side to side to loosen them. She noticed me watching and gave me a playful, mischievous smile. It felt like a challenge. Rusty, who the hell is that woman who just walked in? I've never seen her before. Her name's Isolde Sorokina, and that's her brother, Radomir, with her. They're from Chukotka. Damn, he's a real brute. This is their 3rd trip up here. A few guys have tried to hit on her, but it never ended well. Radomir doesn't speak much English, but he knows how to make it clear that guys should leave his sister alone. You mean with physical force? Oh yeah, but it doesn't last long. He's not violent, but he's fast. Maybe I should go over and talk to him. Oh no, John, don't you dare. Last time you pulled that kind of stunt, you got married. I remember Alabama. Well, I'm not married anymore, Rusty. My final divorce papers came through last week. I'm single again, and back on the market. Damn. I never thought you'd leave Marie. She was the best thing that ever happened to you. What the hell happened? I didn't leave her. Rusty.it was mutual. I even introduced her to her new husband. She's already getting remarried next week. I just got the wedding invitation, though I don't think I'll go. John, are you saying you picked out her new husband? Well, not exactly. He's a great guy, and I think they'll be just fine. Rusty, I wasn't made for family life, and it wasn't fair to her or the boys.it was a tough decision, but I felt like I had to do the right thing. What does he do? Let's just say he works with trains. Now if you'll excuse me for a minute, I need to go talk to that guy about his sister. Thank you for being with us. And if you're one of those who watch us silently, just leave a like. It helps new stories come to light.